in the small American town of Badger, where a local family is preparing for dinner. As they sit at the table to say a prayer, the house is suddenly shaken by violent tremors and the lights go out, followed by an explosion. When the family regains consciousness, they realize the air is polluted. The eldest daughter struggles to breathe and collapses, followed by her parents. The youngest daughter, in a desperate bid for survival, hides in a cabinet. The scene then shifts to New York City, where Dr. Lauren Stone, an astrobiologist working for NASA, watches a news report on climate change. Experts warn that by 2030, Earth could face a catastrophe due to global warming. Suddenly, the host interrupts the discussion with breaking news about a powerful explosion in Badger. The cause of the explosion remains unknown, but the correspondent reports that there are no survivors, and the town is now off-limits due to a toxic substance in the air. Lauren, troubled by memories of a childhood journey with her father, turns off the television and goes to take a bath. Soon, two military officers arrive at her home, instructing her to accompany them to investigate the incident. In Badger, Lauren reluctantly agrees to join the investigation and is taken to a military base where she meets Colonel Roger Emmer and astrobiologist David Santiago. Emmer explains that the explosion was caused by a meteorite the size of a baseball, which released a toxic gas upon impact. The meteorite dissolved into the soil afterward, leaving only a few fragments for geologists to recover. The colonel assigns Lauren and David to investigate the epicenter of the explosion and gather as much information as possible. During the drive to Badger, David chats about his family, but Lauren remains silent, staring indifferently out the window. When they arrive at the site, the researchers are disappointed to find nothing unusual in the crater. However, Lauren suddenly notices a red sprout emerging from the ground and feels an inexplicable connection to it. Initially, she considers taking it, but decides against it and doesn't inform the military about her discovery. Back home, Lauren becomes captivated by the photos of the mysterious plant and starts researching recent meteorite falls. She discovers a similar case recorded in 2013 in the Russian city of Chelyabinsk. Watching an interview with an eyewitness, Lauren learns that no one survived that explosion, and a mysterious plant grew at the impact site, destroying all life nearby. However, authorities quickly cut down the tree and evacuated residents of surrounding cities. Intrigued, Lauren searches for more information about the woman in the interview, only to find out that she was killed shortly after speaking out. It becomes clear that Russia is concealing something significant about the incident. In Chelyabinsk, Lauren, David, and other researchers observe the autopsy of Robert, the head of the family affected in Badger. Dr. Pello and Dr. Hurd make the first incision, only to be horrified as an unusual dark blue, shimmering fluid flows from Robert's body. Then, inexplicably, the fluid retreats back into the wound, and to everyone's shock, Robert suddenly sits up on the autopsy table, staring blankly ahead without reacting to the stunned scientists. Dr. Pello carefully examines him, finding no pulse and noting that his body is cold. She tries to explain to Robert that he has become a victim of a biological attack, but he remains silent. Chaos soon erupts in the hospital as staff members scream and flee the building. Lauren and her colleagues cautiously peek into the morgue, discovering that dozens more victims have risen from the dead. This incredible news quickly sparks public outrage. That evening, David suggests that Lauren join him for a drink to unwind after the stressful day, but she declines, preferring to be alone with her thoughts. The next day, it is revealed that out of the 1,300 residents of Badger, only 49 have risen. A scientist explains to the governor that these resurrected individuals were close to the epicenter of the explosion, where they not only inhaled toxic gas, but also ingested fragments of the meteorite. This caused a transformation of their internal organs, creating a new form of life within them. The scientists attempt to establish contact with the resurrected, but they receive no response. However, it is noted that all the resurrected consistently turn in one direction for some unknown reason. Meanwhile, Lauren informs Colonel Emmer about the similar incident in Russia, insisting that these events are connected and part of a larger plan. Emmer, however, dismisses her theory. Later, the scientists report to the government about the inexplicable resurrection of the victims from Badger. Upon learning that the DNA of the resurrected is deliberately transforming into some form of extraterrestrial DNA, some politicians suggest burning the bodies to put an end to it. However, the president insists on hearing Lauren's report first. First, Lauren informs the politicians about a similar case in Chelyabinsk, where authorities, in an attempt to conceal the truth, burned down the entire village. Initially skeptical, the president begins to realize that there might indeed be a connection between these events. That evening, Lauren is once again haunted by childhood memories of her father taking her to a secret place and asking her never to tell anyone about it. She then returns to the morgue and tries to communicate with a resurrected little girl, sharing her own experience of losing her mother at the age of 10 and showing the girl her favorite childhood book. While she's doing this, David calls her, but she ignores it. Suddenly, Lauren notices that the photo of the red sprout on her screensaver triggers a reaction from the resurrected. Realizing its significance, she immediately contacts David and Emmer to inform them of what happened. Lauren suggests that the resurrected are being drawn to the sprout and proposes taking one of them to the center of the explosion. Colonel Emmer refuses, citing the unknown dangers posed by the resurrected. He also accuses Lauren of withholding information about the sprout, but she insists she initially thought it was insignificant. David then makes an interesting observation. Just as adherents of the Islamic faith always orient themselves toward Mecca during prayer, all the resurrected individuals are inexplicably facing north, toward Badger. Their conversation is interrupted by a military officer, who reports that the mysterious plant has now become public knowledge. News outlets are reporting that a massive extraterrestrial entity with toxic properties has rapidly expanded at the incident site within just 2 days, creating its own atmosphere that is harmful to human life. Contrary to initial beliefs, it is now revealed that the object was not a meteorite, but an alien seed. Meanwhile, Lauren becomes mesmerized, unable to tear her eyes away from the image of the ominous plant. Colonel Emmer eventually agrees to bring Robert to Badger to gather more information about the incident. When the scientists arrive at the heavily guarded area, they are horrified by the sight of the plant, which has grown to unimaginable proportions. "So that's your seedling, huh?" Emmer remarks. Lauren and David cautiously examine the massive tree, but a colleague advises them not to become too attached, as the plan is to cut it down. They place the motionless Robert in front of the tree, and the scientists and military personnel speculate on whether the toxic atmosphere will affect him, concluding that it's unlikely. To Lauren's immense joy, Robert begins to show signs of life a few minutes later, opening his striking blue eyes and slowly standing up. He looks around and declares that he cannot return, as he can no longer survive in the human environment. Later, Lauren presents her theory at a press conference, suggesting that the aliens sent the seed to Earth to create an environment suitable for themselves. During her speech, a mysterious stranger watches the broadcast intently. The next day, Lauren receives an unexpected visit from her father. It's clear she's not thrilled to see him. As he enters, he reminisces about how Lauren wanted a laboratory as a child and how both she and her mother were concerned about her intense fascination with science and space. He admits that he regrets growing distant from her, but Lauren, visibly distressed, remains silent and he leaves. Later, preparations are made to establish contact with Robert. Emmer questions why Robert chose to communicate with Lauren out of all the scientists and why he refuses to speak to anyone else. The colonel hands Lauren a list of questions, instructing her to discover the intentions of these extraterrestrial beings. In his altered state, Robert reveals that their home planet is no longer habitable, forcing them to seek a new place to sustain life. Earth was the only planet where they could grow a massive tree, so they sent the seed to coordinates provided by someone named Supernova 94. Robert explains that it was Supernova 94 who first made contact with them and guided them to Earth. Their conversation is abruptly interrupted by scientists drilling into the tree. Robert pleads with Lauren to stop them, but she insists that the tree must be cut down because it poses a threat to the planet. Infuriated, Robert declares that humans cannot stop them, revealing that his kind possesses superhuman abilities. To prove his point, he uses his mind to compel one of the scientists collecting samples to remove his protective suit in the contaminated zone, leading to his death. The military attempts to shoot Robert, but he quickly stuns them and turns their weapons against each other, resulting in a horrific massacre. Only Lauren and David manage to survive, fleeing the danger zone in haste. Meanwhile, the Air Force attempts to destroy Robert with missiles, but a protective dome suddenly forms over the tree, deflecting the attacks. Elsewhere, an unknown man watches the news and freezes when the anchors mention someone named Supernova 994. He quickly retrieves a diary where the same username is written. Soon after, mysterious phenomena begin occurring around the world. Crops rot, people hear strange sounds, toxic clouds form, and inexplicable explosions erupt. It becomes clear that humanity is now on the brink of extinction, and representatives of all nations start praying, desperately hoping to avert the impending apocalypse. The military decides to incinerate all remaining resurrected individuals. As news of the impending apocalypse spreads, Lauren returns to her childhood home. She approaches her old laboratory, only to find it locked with a padlock. Glancing back at the house, she hesitates, contemplating whether to talk to her father, who seems deeply troubled. Instead, she decides to visit the terrifying tree once more. Along the way, Lauren reflects on the many existential questions that have haunted her throughout her life. Despite the world nearing its end, she feels an inexplicable sense of relief, as if she's finally free from all suffering. She realizes that the truth she had always sought in the atmosphere is now within reach. Arriving at the site, Lauren dons a protective mask and approaches Robert, who remains near the tree. She notices that the plant has changed, and Robert explains that it's undergoing a necessary transformation, ominously stating that the time has come. He confesses that their only hope for survival was the red sprout that Lauren allowed to grow, making it clear that her actions enabled the aliens to take over Earth. He also reminds her of a day from her past, extending his hand as memories flash before her eyes. The scene shifts to young Lauren with her father, visiting a secret location. It's revealed that a UFO had been discovered in Alaska, and her father, a senator, had taken her to a base near the incident site. He asked her to wait in the corridor, but young Lauren, driven by curiosity, wandered into the restroom where she overheard a conversation about an extraterrestrial being, one that was powerful, hostile, and attempting to plant something on Earth. However, the atmosphere had prevented it from completing its task. In a twist of fate, young Lauren miraculously finds her way into the room housing the alien, which is confined within a capsule. Approaching it with fascination, she reaches out to touch the glass, and something inexplicable happens. Her DNA undergoes a transformation, leading to her eventual metamorphosis into a being that is half alien and half human. She loses consciousness, but is quickly found and taken away from the capsule. Her father is only told that she was found in the bathroom, with the truth about her contact with the extraterrestrial being concealed. Soon after, Lauren's extraordinary abilities begin to manifest at the age of 8. She designs a detailed rocket blueprint, withdraws from social interactions, and immerses herself in thoughts about extraterrestrial life. At school, she starts calling herself an alien, expressing a desire to go home. One day, she invents a device for interstellar communication, naming it Supernova 94, after the date on the calendar. This invention becomes the means through which she establishes contact with the very aliens who later arrive on Earth. When her parents discover her work, they demand that she stop. Offended by her mother's reaction, Lauren foretells a gruesome fate for her, revealing her superpowers in the process. In the present, as Lauren learns the truth about her identity, she is overwhelmed with emotions. Suddenly, Robert removes her gas mask, revealing that she can breathe easily in an atmosphere poisonous to humans. "Welcome home," he says. It is then revealed that the stranger who found the reference to Supernova 94 in his diary is a CIA agent who accidentally intercepted one of the messages young Lauren sent to the aliens. Now, mysterious egg-like objects are being discovered worldwide, emitting toxic gas that annihilates all living beings, clearing the Earth for its new inhabitants. These capsules are linked to the roots of the colossal tree, and all these events were foreshadowed in Lauren's childhood drawings. In the end, we learn that all earthly species and plants have become extinct, and Lauren has finally returned home.